Welcome back to the Vine Morning Show. Here we are on this Monday morning. I'm Mark. It is great to have you along, and it's great for those that are watching on our YouTube channel this morning and on cable TV channel 15. We welcome those watching, and as we have our good friend Lora Greathouse in studio with us this morning. Good morning, Lora. How are you on this beautiful Monday morning?
Mark.
All right, there we go.
Yes, I'm good, and I thank you very much.
All right. Well, today we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do.
And we're going to start off with a little story this morning, right?
Yes. You know, I've been praying for revelation, Mark. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a really hard week, and it just was. It, in some ways, I mean, nothing tragic, but in some ways it was one of the hardest weeks that I've had. And so when you're Lora and you have a hard week, you pray a lot and you cry a lot.
I understand.
And yes. And so I was in my daughter's bedroom, and it was morning, and she has one window in her bedroom, and it faces the east. And I have my arms in the window, and I'm just talking to God. Probably people driving by or the neighbors probably thinks I'm insane. But, you know, at that point, you throw the I don't care. I mean, just it's out the window when you're that upset. And so I'm just kind of arms in the window, and I'm just talking to God and praying about my problem and trying to figure it all out and grasp it in my head. Well, my brother Marty gave Lucy this, I may have told you about this before, this cute little thing. I don't even know what it's called, but it has a suction cup, and you press it onto the window. And it has these little channels and these little spinny circle things, and it has a little solar bar on it.
Oh, like a sun catcher.
Like a sun catcher, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
okay, all right.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. And it has these two little crystal-y things on it, and they're on a little wire, and Lucy's rough, okay? Lucy breaks things, and she's always busy, and she's always got 90 million things going on, and it's hard to keep anything in her room without it getting broken. Well, at times, one of these little beautiful crystals falls off. Well, when they're working together, it does something amazing. And so, but for months, and I hate to say it, one of the little crystal-y pieces had fallen off. And the little wire had broken, and I just let it go. It's just one of them things I hadn't gotten to. Well, when the sun shines on the one, it sprays a little bit of rainbows around. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm praying, and I'm looking at her little window thing. I'm like, I'm standing here. I ought to try to work that other little crystal on there. And so I worked it and bent at the wire, and as I'm praying to God, and the sun's just shining through like crazy. It was beautiful. And I put that other little crystal on there, and then I just kept praying. And I kind of forgot about it. Well, lo and behold, the sun was working on that little solar panel, and then pretty soon it started churning. And it started turning. And then pretty soon the little glass pieces started moving and twirling. And then the whole room is filled with, I mean, just like a starburst. And there's rainbows flying all around the room and all the way down the hallway. And it's just this most incredible sight from this little old tiny machine. And you know, it got me to thinking, it worked a little bit with the one jewel. But when you hooked the second jewel up there, it functioned properly. And it was really a revelation for me. How many times in our life would things be working better if both units were strong? You think about your team. You know, your team could be divided in two, and you're not going to play as well. You're not going to work together as well. You're probably not going to win as often if you are split. Our country seems to be divided in two. We're not really pulling together with all of our forces. And a marriage, when you're not together, when both teams, when both sides are not moving forward, you're not nearly as effective. And it made me think of that scripture. One can put is it 1,000 in flight and 2 could put 10,000, or you know what I'm talking about. And I think about that so often in our life, that we could be moving, we could be thriving in another direction, in a greater direction, if we all were plugged in at the same motion. And so that little piece in Lucy's room really gave me a revelation, really made me think, about this and shaking things off. I told you last night that I wanted to talk about insults. And I love the verse in Proverbs 12:16 that says, "A fool shows their annoyance at once, but the prudent overlook an insult." And it's easy whenever something tough comes our way to roll our eyes. I could be a eye roller, and not even realize it.
I think we do that a lot, and we don't realize it until after we do it. Right. And it's like, why did I just do that?
I shouldn't have done that. I'm going to have to repent for that, A person's wisdom yields patience, and it's to one's glory to overlook an offense. Proverbs 19:11. It says it's wisdom. It's wisdom to yield. And, it will benefit us to overlook all we can. You think about that. Our nature is to strike back, and it often makes everything worse. And, Mark, think about this. How many times have we reviewed conflicts and thought, oh, I didn't think to say that mean thing. I wish I'd said it. No, it's usually the other way around.
Opposite.
Yes, you want to say it so bad and you feel it's so necessary, and then when you don't, after a few days pass, you think, thank God I didn't say that. Thank God, and finally, the Lord has worked in me so much for so many years that when a conflict comes, when a fiery dart comes, I'm just under my breath. Lord, give me wisdom. Give me wisdom. I need to know what to say. I don't even know what to do sometimes when people come against you. You don't even know what to say, what to do. But I've looked back in my life and think, oh, I'm glad I held my mouth. I'm glad the Lord locked this tongue. And it takes that sometimes to have God, okay, you give my mouth the discernment. I told you I pray for wisdom every day, discernment, understanding, and I read Proverbs. That's a big part of my life. And, both of these scriptures are teaching us how to overlook an insult, keep your tongue closed, keep your mouth closed, have patience. And I think of the things in my life that has caused me to have patience, the people that have been placed in my life that has helped me grow patience. I've told you before, Dale Carnegie, I had those tapes, and he single-handedly, I think, has taught me how to be interested in other people. Be interested in their problems. Listen to them, what they have to say, and don't let it always be about me and about my issues and my problems and my perspective and what I think is more important than what you think. And my problems are harder, and my life is rougher than yours. Giving ourselves to other people. And I think sometimes people need to vent. They need to vent, and maybe they've had all this barreled up inside of them for so long. And when someone comes against you, Mark, it's easy to just look at its face value, but we need to look deeper. We need to look, okay, where could this be coming from? What could be the underlying things? What do I have to learn in this?
We have to be a reason for understanding in situations like that, and not jump like we have a tendency to do.
Yes, absolutely. And Mark, don't you think it a little bizarre that last week we talked about being offended? And then the next day I got maybe the biggest offense of my entire life. I really did. But you know what? Something I told my mom and my buddy, I never want to be unteachable. I always want to be pliable. And, we're not worth the saltiness that we are if we ever stop being a student.
That's right.
We aren't.
That's right.
And our whole lives needs to be a constant learning and a constant progression. And you know what? We know it's a test. Anytime we have something, it's a test. Okay, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to listen? Are you going to grow from this? Are you going to change from this? If we pass the test, we can move forward. And you know, I was telling my buddy too, really bizarre how God puts things in your path.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I don't sit on the couch much. You know that about me. But I was sitting on the couch. I was laid out, Mark. I didn't get much done last week. It wiped me out. I will tell you that. I'm sitting on the couch because I don't have the strength to do a whole lot other stuff. And that's the truth of it. I'll just tell you the truth. And there was a preacher that came on that I never listened to. He's okay guy. He's just not one of mine. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was the last 10 minutes, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to listen to what this guy has to say. And you know what he said? He said, before I ever let anybody up on my stage, even it be a child, I always check them out first. And he says, on occasion, I will rebuke one of them publicly on purpose. Just to see what they do.
What the reaction is.
What their reaction is. And if their reaction is correct, I know that they are mature enough to move to another level. And if their reaction is poor, I know that they need to stay where they're at.
Wow.
Woo!
Yeah.
That was like amazing revelation to me. And Mark, I have to say, I'm not saying I passed it with an A+, but I had a test thrown on my lap, and I passed it. With God's grace and only God's grace, I know that I passed it. And I've got a lot to learn and to think about this and to move forward, but I did the best I could. I can tell you that. My sister wrote a song one time called I Did the Best I Could Today. And I can tell you on Tuesday, I did the best I could that day.
You know, you said that you normally don't watch this pastor on TV, but that was a day meant for you to see and watch him, because those words, he spoke to your heart and it changed you. It gave you a different perspective.
It really did. I mean, and I was hurting and I needed some clarity to this, and I thought, okay, that was big and that was for me, and I'm going to grab that and I'm going to take that. And I'm, like I said, I'm not handling it perfectly, but I'm doing the best I can. And with God's grace, he's going to turn this into something really great and wonderful. And you know, sometimes our deepest pain comes right before something good, but you know what? We don't know what we're made of until we've been tried.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So we're heading into 9 o'clock with Laura this morning. We're going to talk about when we come back.
Well, I got a great story, and you know me, you and me, we love the headlines, don't
exactly.
we, buddy?
Yeah,
so
we do.
Let's get to that, too.
All right, we'll do that when we come back in the 9 o'clock hour with Laura.
Right.
More to come here on the Vine Morning Show. Nothing Better. That is from John Gira at Real Life Radio 105.5 and 90.9 The Vine Music and Ministry. That is always uplifting and encouraging. Welcome back to the Vine Morning Show on a Monday. I'm Mark, our good friend Laura in the studio with us today, and we're going to look at some headlines this morning, right, Laura?
Yes. I wonder if I can tell this little story first.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. It's very interesting, and it's motivating, and I just want to tell it to you. Okay. All right. An 88-year-old man who was given a standing ovation as he slowly walked off the stage with his cane. This man knew great heartache. His dad died when he was only 5, and he had to quit school and go work at 16 years old. By the age of 17, he had lost 4 jobs.
Oh, my.
that would be hard on your self-esteem, wouldn't it?
Oh, it sure would.
By the age of 18, he was married, and a year later, he was a father. At the age of 20, his wife left him and took their little girl with her. So between the ages of 18 and 24, he worked on the railroad and he failed. He became a farmer and he went broke. He applied for law school and was rejected. Ouch, that would hurt.
That would hurt.
Yes, he sold insurance and failed at that too. The only thing he knew how to do very well was cook. Okay, desperate to put his family back together, he begged his wife to come back, and she did. They worked in a small cafe until he was 65 years old.
Oh, my.
They continued to struggle financially, and then the state built a highway that bypassed his tiny cafe, and his business died. Not willing to give up, though. This is good. You know, a good man falls down, does it say 7 times, but he gets back up, or am I getting that right?
Yeah, you're pretty close. I can't remember exactly how it goes.
I can't even, I'll look it up later, forgive me. But anyway, not willing to give up, He was the picture of persistence. He put his pressure cooker in the back of his car and went from town to town showing restaurants how to cook his special kind of fried chicken.
Oh, my.
Yeah. That 65-year-old chicken salesman became known around the world as Colonel Sanders, the king of the Kentucky Fried Chicken Empire.
Oh, wow.
And how was he successful? He didn't give up. And he didn't succumb to resistance. And, when all else fails, we do need to if we get knocked down over and over and over, we need to keep getting back up. Mm-hmm. And it's the ones that don't get back up that really lose.
Exactly.
And, if a person really wants to find a way, they just have to prevail. And I believe in the power of prevailing prayer. Mm-hmm. And we must refuse not to let it make us give up and just keep struggling and just keep pressing on. So anyway, Colonel Sanders was really, really a inspiration to me this week, and thought maybe he might help some of you that, it's easy to look back, Mark, at the highlights of our life. Mm-hmm. You think about it and the pivotal moments. Should I have gone here? Should I have gone there? Should I do this? Should I do that? And I think sometimes we don't give things the proper time. Choices in our life, this world's moving so rapidly so fast, and we don't look down the road. Do you ever take a situation and you roll it all the way out to its end as far as you can possibly see it? Think, okay, if I go this direction, what could transpire? Mm-hmm. What could happen? How could this affect other people way down the road? Mm-hmm. Or if I choose this way, this might benefit me, this might benefit someone else. Where is it going? And I think so often that we don't even care to take the time to see how my decision could affect so many people around me. And we need to give it that and really take it seriously. And Proverbs says many advisors, there's wisdom in many advisors. And so if you're faced with a decision right now, if you're having a problem deciding what to do, often we don't have to make a decision today.
That's right.
We don't. And we can keep praying for God's wisdom and His guidance and put people in our path to speak wisdom into us. And so many times I think I've got something all figured out, and my brother-in-law, Kip, I've told you this before, man, he comes up with a right turn, Clyde. Wow, I never would have even thought about that. And it's great to have people in your life that can clear the water up. Because sometimes when you're in a storm, you're too close. You can't even see what to do. You can't even see what to think of. And sometimes people will shine light in your path. You shine light on my path, Mark. You're one of my go-to people. Mm-hmm. I have some go-to friends. I have some go-to family members. We have. When it's a serious situation, we have to collect our people. It's
true. Like an accountability partner.
It is.
And someone you can go to help you be accountable for, whatever it might be in life.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? You've walked places I've never walked before. And your background in law enforcement has given you wisdom that you probably don't even see in yourself. But us that know you can look at you, and you have very timely advice, you have very wise advice, and you're you're not a forceful, I'm going to shove it down your throat, but you're a very strong person when you give your opinion because of your faith, and you're like a rock. I mean that. And if you don't have somebody in your life that can move you in the right direction, that can give you good advice when you've got nothing. Like I told you this week, I was wiped out. And when you are that wiped out, it's hard to even stand in prayer for yourself, let alone other people. And it's hard to even sit down and read the Bible. I'd sit down and read the Bible, and my mind would just be like jagging all over the place. And spiritually speaking, I had to have other people pour into my life, speak into my life, hold me up in prayer. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I say this often, we're all in this together. We are. And if you are faced at a crossroads and you don't have to make a decision right this second, don't. unless you know exactly what you're supposed to do. But if you don't know, seek, pray, ask advice to your safe people. Not everybody's a safe person.
That's true. That's very true.
And when you're really going through a trial, when you're going through a storm, if you've got a handful of people that you can really count on, you've done very well. And you have to keep it. Sometimes we have to keep it to a minimum because it could be very dangerous. It could be very damaging if quarrels and different things gets out among, especially the unsaved.
That's very true. And I heard someone mention that one time. They said, have an odd number of people, like 3, 5, 7, maybe not that many, but 3 or 5 people, because that way, if you go to each one, you may get a different opinion. And say you may have 4 that may say over 1 that may have given you the opinion you feel like you need. You may have 3 over 2. It's an odd number that you may not get everybody in agreement, but you're always going to get an odd number agreement with you on a lot of things. So they always say go with 3 or 5.
That's brilliant.
Handful, and it does make sense that way.
Sure does.
So that way you don't have 2 and 2 saying if you have 4 or just 2 people, always get a third person.
Right.
Like they say, get a third opinion.
Yes.
In a lot of situations.
They certainly do, and that's amazing advice. And you know what, Mark? Sometimes such simple things can be just what we need to hear. Such simple words can be a major life revelation, and I think that's really good advice. If you are out there struggling with where do I go, what do I do, what direction am I supposed to go to, what's the pack? What's your small little board per se telling you, and make sure they're a Christian.
Oh, that's very important.
It really is.
Sure.
I mean, if you are getting your advice from somebody that's not darkened the door of a church in 20 years, I'd rethink that counsel.
Yeah.
I surely would. So anyhow, that's just a little spin off of Colonel Sanders, but boy, he fell and he fell and he fell again. But I mean, everybody in the world knows Colonel Sanders, and I believe he was a really good man. Oh,
I do too. And I believe his spirit's alive in many people today.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
He was looked up to by so many people out there.
Yes.
Because of the success he had, because of
right.
fried chicken.
Right, and look how late it came in his life. I mean, it reminds me of Moses. Moses did bad, and he was off the scene for 40 years, but he came back in his old age, and he changed the world. He was a profound Bible hero of ours, and I think, you know what? I'm 45. I'll be 46 very soon, and many of you are 56, 66, 76, whatever. God can still do a mighty work in your life. You could still do some phenomenal things no matter what age you are. And I know we get told that a lot, but do you really believe it? Do you really think that you can be a powerful person for the kingdom and in your life and in your sphere of influence? So anyway, at 65, Colonel just got started.
Isn't that something? Yeah, at 65. Wow. Most people are retiring at that
Yes,
age.
they are. But you know what? I don't ever want to retire, really. Do you?
I don't want to ever retire if I don't have to.
Right. I mean, there's always going to be a job.
Sure. I mean, it makes you feel like you're still able to do the things that God hasn't intended for you to do.
That's right. Absolutely.
On this earth.
That's
and,
good.
As long as your health holds out, why not?
Yes. Go for it.
Go
That's
for it.
great.
All
so,
right.
but anyway,
Right.
Coming
Good.
up, if you want to wait or whatever.
Yeah. What are you going to talk about when we come back?
Let's do the headlines.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you
There's
don't
a
care.
lot of things going on in our
Lord.
world
Okay.
today, and I
That's
think
right.
we need to, always stay on top. There's earthquakes going on.
Yes.
There was just one again this morning.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I'll have to find out. It was major news this morning, I believe.
Okay.
We'll find out where that was at, and we'll
Okay.
do that when we come back here in just a little bit, and we'll talk more with Laura here on the Vine Morning Show. I encourage you to stay tuned. Wake Me Up, that is Group 1 Crew from Real Life Radio 105.5 and 90.9 The Vine. Music and ministry that is always uplifting and encouraging. It is 9:27. We welcome you back. It's the Vine Morning Show on this beautiful Monday morning. I'm Mark and our good friend Laura in the studio with us this morning. And Laura, we want to talk about some headlines, and there's a
Yeah.
lot going. It seems like every week there's something new when you turn around.
More than you can even attack.
Yeah, imagine, yes.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Well, you know, what baffles me just very much at this moment would be all that snow.
Oh, yeah, in New York City.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And Washington, did they end up getting as much as they thought, or have you heard?
You know what? I saw a video last night on the news where they were having trouble trying to find the runway at the airport in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So they've had like up to 2 feet of snow in that area.
Okay.
And I remember, and I think I told you this earlier on off the air, that I was reading something the other day where that, and I'm trying to find it here.
Okay.
That the DC megastorm is called Jonas.
Oh yes, yes.
And
you told me that. I didn't know that.
you know, it's being called a snow apocalypse in the nation's capital, but there's some out there that follow biblical prophecy. I think the name may be apt. It's maybe not so much a signal of the end of the world, but many see the megastorm as Jonas as a kind of a signal from God, part of a long-standing pattern of corrections from the creator of the universe. For the U.S., whenever it seeks to divide the land of Israel or hurt the nation, the Bible says, is the apple of his eye. So it makes you wonder if, you know, they never expected this kind of snow out there of historic proportion.
Right, exactly.
And it, you know, it came to a complete standstill. I even seen, I think it was at Washington Dulles Airport, that they were having problems trying to find the runway because of all the snow, and they had all kinds of snow removal equipment, and no one can fly in because of all the snow. But you know,
Bad.
when you stop and you think about it, when was the last time they had some kind of weather out there
I don't know.
of that magnitude?
That was unbelievable. And I mean, you know, I don't know, but you have to scratch your head and think, that's a little bizarre. It's Washington, D.C. and New York. I mean, And one news broadcaster called it, this was very strange, punishable weather.
Well, what's he wonder what he's meaning by that?
Yeah, I know. It was really strange. And, you know, I don't remember which location, if it was Washington or New York, but I was listening to the news, and they said that if they catch anybody out that is not an emergency situation, that they would arrest them and fine them. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's serious.
That is very serious.
My goodness. So anyhow, I hate it for those people. And another guy, you know, Mark, we're hearing this apocalypse and Armageddon in the news all the time, like we've never, ever, ever heard it before. And they pulled some guy off the street and was questioning him, and he said, I feel like we're preparing for a natural disaster or Armageddon or something like that. And I thought, what an interesting choice of words people keep using, you know? It's kind of bizarre. But anyway, this weather, you hear, my sister made this comment the other day, she says, you hear so many times people saying, this has never happened. I've never seen this before. I have never seen flooding like this in this location. This is, as long as I live, and they show these old farmers, you know, that are 80 years old. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. And one news broadcaster said this, anyone living on the earth today has not seen things like we are seeing now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When
you stop back and you know, some guys now were talking the other night. We were going back, even back, say 30 years ago, and never dreamed that we would be seeing the things that we are seeing and witnessing today.
Yes, absolutely. No kidding. Also, I saw a headline, scientists have warned the world is in a volcano season. Now, I've never heard that term before either.
Well, there's a volcano out in Mexico that they're saying that is on the brink of eruption, and then you figure there's been talk about out in Yellowstone Park volcano. And just the other day, there was an earthquake in Alaska,
Yes.
And then one this morning, if I'm not mistaken, a 7.1 somewhere in Spain, the Morocco area this morning. So, you know, things that are going on that people say, well, that happens on, you know, just earthquakes happen every day. But what are the magnitudes, you know, is very important.
Not just these little tiny tremors that you don't know if somebody in the next room dropped something or if it was, something really, really big. Flipping kind of over to the economy, this is interesting, Mark. This is really sad. It says 48% of all U.S. adults under the age of 30 believe the American dream is over. 48%.
And what was the age group again? Did it give an age group?
30 or under 30. Yeah, so it's like all of our young people really has this dim outlook on America's history. And that's good and bad. I'm going to say it's good because they're seeing the real picture, but it's bad to think that the future of our country has lost hope. You know?
Yeah, because it all comes down to the younger generation.
Yes.
You know, it comes down to your kids, to my grandkids, and their kids in the future.
Right, absolutely.
What's going to happen down the road? It makes you wonder.
It does make you wonder, and it really, that painted a picture that, wow, they're really getting it too, that things are falling apart and they're not going to get any better. And that's just my belief completely, but you know, when you lose hope, Mark, there's a delicate line there, isn't it? When you lose hope, that's really a bad place to be too, you know?
It sure is.
I guess you're probably aware that 40 Macy's clothing stores have closed.
I had heard that day before yesterday. I heard that Saturday.
That's pretty big. I think that's pretty big, you
well,
know.
Look at the Walmart stores that were closing too around the country.
And that, Walmart. I mean, that's where everybody's going and where they're getting their stuff. And but I thought Macy's, that you know, that's kind of a higher end thing, and it shows you that the money is not there. The money is not flowing. It's not being spent. Our economy really is clamping down. And now this one's just for funny. Make sure everybody just keeps your funny on. This headline, it's so cute. It says Obama, and it showed a picture of our president, and it said, "Best gun salesman on earth."
Ooh, oh my.
I chuckled about that, Mark. I've laughed about that but you know, keep your sense of humor. It was just for sillies, but it was a headline that I saw, and I mean, Mark, I have laughed about that over and over. It was just really cute.
Well, when you stop and you think about what's going on in our country today, rights are being taken away. Yes. People are scared because they're afraid to go anywhere without protection.
Yes.
And look at the increase on gun sales. Yes. Concealed carry is a big thing now in Illinois. I can tell you so many people.
Yes.
Classes are being taught for nurses, for school teachers.
Yes.
The people are wanting to get into these concealed carry classes. The applications for concealed carry are astronomical.
Okay.
People are being more watchful around their surroundings nowadays, and that's good.
Yes.
But it's bad the way our country is going, leading up to where to get the license, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
And now they want to take the rights away from people to protect and defend themselves.
Right. And the ones that, correct me if I'm wrong, but the ones that have gone out and done some catastrophic things, isn't the percentage like really minute that they went through the proper channels and did the conceal and carry classes? I mean, the people that have gone through all this training and to get their license and do it all the right way, the percentage of them that is going out and doing something crazy is like nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. And so it makes no sense to me.
Right.
Why would you want to clamp down on this just common red-blooded American, if you'll let me say that,
Sure.
you know?
Sure.
Why is it? It's like everything is turning yes is no and no is yes and right is wrong and wrong is right, and we're looking at our leaders and they're running in this direction and we're like, they're going the wrong way, they need to be running in this direction, and it's just a mess. It's just, you know, Rodney said something in his sermon yesterday. I totally am getting this from him. I didn't check it out, meant to. That the transgender people can now play in the Olympics on the opposite end. So like if a man wants to be a woman and he starts, moving in that direction, that he can go play in the women's leagues in the Olympics.
I did read something on that the other day.
Yeah. And Rodney's comment was, he said, that just about did it for me. I mean, what next? What next? And I thought, okay, all right, he said it just was baffling to me. And I'm sure a lot of people that are hearing about this are, going to have their opinion. How fair is that? I'm not sure that's really fair.
I don't get it. I really don't understand that.
Yeah. But that's just, another thing that we are faced with. It's like when one thing begins, then we call it the domino effect.
It's a domino effect. Now it's going after something else, and something else will, come under fire.
Right, exactly. And it's often like whenever one thing is done, then all of these new things crop up. Well, how do I feel about that? Well, how do I decide about that? What is the decision? It just brings up all these things you never thought that would have to be decided upon are right now being decided upon.
There was a thing out on social media the other day. Look how Bibles, they're not allowed in schools anymore, but are encouraged in prison. But, you stop and think, if kids were allowed to read the Bible at school, they may not end up in prison.
You're right. You are right. And, they've got it pegged. I think it's 3rd or 4th grade. They got a pretty good idea if that kid's going to end up in jail.
Oh, statistics show it. Yeah.
Yes, by that small. Yeah, all those things. And so, the Bible in our schools, it would be a wonderful thing, but those days are gone, Mark. They really are gone. And did you know, this is interesting, another headline that I saw was 79% of evangelical Christians look at the trouble in the Middle East and believe that it's a great sign of the end times.
Really?
Now, I didn't know it was that high.
I did not. I would not have guessed it being that high at all.
You feel like you're alone sometimes whenever you're looking at all these headlines and thinking, this is it. It's getting down to the brass tacks of things. But this one particular headline said, I believe it was 79%.
Wow.
So that's encouraging.
Yeah. It
It
sure is.
Maybe we're not as in this tiny little group as we kind of feel like we are. Speaking about the gas, it's down to $1.59 in our neck of the woods. That's a little scary to me. That's wonderful for us, but like I've said before, every time I see it, it's just like, it casts a great concern on me. A headline said, crude oil is having its worst ever start to a year. Ever.
The worst ever at the beginning of the year.
Yes,
Wow.
At the beginning of the year, it had its worst ever, this was the headline, start to the first part of the year. Yeah. So that, once again, nevers and evers and never seen this before and apocalyptic and Armageddon, and it's just, whoa, it's mind-blowing just watching the news.
It sure is. And there's something new, a new twist every day, it seems like.
Yes, there really
something
is.
New.
Absolutely true.
All right, we're going to come back here in a moment with Laura, and when we come back, we'll have just a little bit more time. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Let's
think on this,
Mark.
Mark.
We'll think on that when we take our break here in a moment and come back, and we'll figure out what that's going to be. And we welcome you back to the Vine Morning Show on a Monday morning. I am Mark, along with Laura. And Laura, it's great to have you along this morning. And,
thank you.
Interesting things that are going on in our world today. We need to be paying attention to. And, just be watchful is very important. And you've got some scriptures you want to share with us this morning, right?
Yeah, there's a few that people really refer to this one a lot, and I like it. It's Isaiah 40:31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And I don't care what you're going through, that one is a help for sure. And just across the page here, I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. Woo! Isn't that good?
It is good.
That one's good. We can stay just stay kind of down low
Mm-hmm.
if we want to. But if we want to move out of that, if we want to do more, we have to dream big dreams, and we have to have goals. And, when you move on, it's not a climate that we can really predict.
Mm.
You think about that.
It's very true.
You don't know what you're in for.
That's right.
Whenever you want to climb that hill. Jim Baker, it's one of his favorite songs, on the... something about going up the upside of the mountain. He's going up the rough side of the mountain. That's it. You ever heard that song?
I've heard. I've not heard it, but I think I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
It just talks about, I'm going up on the rough side of the mountain. And boy, the people that sings that song, and they'll just sing it over and over and over. And Mark, it just gets better every time they say it. When you think about it, sometimes in life you just feel like you're climbing up this hill and this mountain, and the storm's just beating you in the face, and then you got hail coming, and you've got torrents of rain and lightning, and it's really bad, and it could be really cold, but you got to think, if you're going to progress the kingdom, if you're going to move to a higher ground, you're going to have to take all that comes at you. You're going to have to take all them fiery darts and those storms and those insults and those offenses, and you got to take all of them. And it's kind of like that horse that fell down in the pit. Every time they threw dirt on him, he shook it off. Every time somebody piles a big pile of dirty old dirt on you, you just got to shake it off, and you got to step a little higher, and shake it off and step a little higher. And if you're in that today, get in the Word.
Mm-hmm.
Find scriptures. We're not born with a master's degree in faith.
That's exactly right.
We are not. We've got to try that faith. It has to be tried. It has to be tested. We have to move in our faith. My mom says faith is like a fan. It ain't going to do nothing until you plug it in. And it's so true. We got to turn our faith on, and we got to put leg and action to our faith, that we got to move forward. And people's going to try. Satan's going to send people to throw a pile of dirt on you to keep you down. But you can't let it. If you know that you are called to move, if you know that you are called by the grace of God to make a difference in this world, don't let anybody throw and sling mud on you. Just think, you know what? We're supposed to give thanks when we're faced with all sorts of troubles, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to give thanks because, I heard Jonathan Kahn say that. If all hell is breaking loose and coming against you, you're exactly where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good sign. It's a good sign that you're affecting people and that Satan hates your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want. And if you're moving along and everything's just going pretty good, and the kids are fed, and the house payment's made, and everybody's just doing okay, is it time for a personal stretching? Is it time for revelation? Okay, God, what am I doing wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing that's not quite right?
Mm-hmm.
And not that we want 10 kinds of trouble going all the time, but when you're faced with it, remember that whenever you're moving forward, if you're doing any good, you're going to get adversities coming against you. And so we just kind of got to lift one another up, and we've got to help each other and listen. I want to be a good listener, And Mark, I don't listen to you very much. Forgive me. You let me do a lot of the talking.
No, you do good.
Sometimes I predict. Sometimes on the air, you wouldn't believe people. Now I am a good listener, but when you listen to me, you might think she's not a very good listener. But I do believe that we need to bear one another's problems, and we need to understand and hold one another up, and everything's going to be all right,
That's right.
It really is, and I just keep reminding myself every day of heaven, I just do. It's not going to matter, and these people that hurt your feelings or say things against you, or if you lost your job last week, it's not going to matter real soon, If your wife left you, it's going to hurt for a while, but one of these days, it's not going to matter.
We're striving for bigger and better.
We are.
And that is to be in heaven. We're going to come back and wrap it up here with Laura here in just a few moments on the Vine Morning Show. We encourage you to stay tuned.